Good evening and welcome to Between the Lines. I'm John Matisonn. Tonight's guest is the newly re-elected Mayor of Cape Town, Patricia de Lille. Madam Mayor, welcome to Cape Town Television.
Great honor.
Congratulations. You've won a great victory. A few years ago, Cape Town was the only marginal metro in the country. Now it's the safest metro in the country.
Yes, indeed. You know, I campaigned on a track record of service delivery and especially sharing the budget so that 60% of the money goes towards poor people. And then a lot of infrastructure development that we have deliberately invested into so that we could make our contribution to the growth of the economy in the city. But also the maintenance just of infrastructure has been a great challenge for us.
I want to come back to that because you're now looking at how you can use the Cape Town model in other parts of the country. But before we do, I wanted to just go back to your history because many people don't remember what people in political life did before yesterday. You've had quite a journey, and in a way, your journey is like the journey of South Africans over the last half century. You were in the trade unions, then the Pan-Africanist Congress, then in CODESA, then in Parliament, then the Independent Democrats you formed, then now the Democratic Alliance. How does that feel to you? I mean, it really does feel like the trajectory of South Africa?
Well, certainly, I'm very sensitive and alive to change and to the evolvement of the time. If you get stuck in the past, you can't see the future. So you have to honor the past, you have to respect the past, but you have to design your own future. Because that is what the Constitution, the progressive Constitution now help us with. And that's why, I mean, I could sit down one day in Parliament and say, you know what? The Constitution say it's free political activity. And I said, I want to become the first woman ever in our new democracy to start a political party, win seats at national, provincial, and local, and set out to go and do that. So I achieved that. And having achieved that, you look at the political landscape again, and you said, look, there's a need for an alternative in this country. And I believe that if you build an alternative, the people will vote for it. And so off we go, COPE, DA, ACDP, we started talking, an idea about forming this alternative and a realignment of politics. And then, of course, some of the guys got stuck in the past, and today they've been reduced to nothing. And so then working together with Helen Zille specifically to build this alternative, and Musi Mamani coming on board, and we're still building this alternative. So we are moving, and I've been very fortunate to be part of that movement within the framework of what we have attained, our new freedom.
We can't ignore the fact that we are talking at a time when there's a national crisis straight after these elections with the apparently very bitter conflict between President Jacob Zuma and Pravin Gordhan, the Minister of Finance. You knew Pravin Gordhan at CODESA, and did you know Jacob Zuma in that time?
He was not at CODESA. He used to pop in now and then, but as the leader of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal. But Pravin Gordhan, Cyril Ramaphosa, Joe Slovo.
But what do you make of the situation now? I mean, you had a sense of Pravin Gordhan because he played a big role in CODESA.
For me, it's all about principle. John, we are all equal before the law. If they investigate you for whatever allegation, then they must call you and they must follow due process. Why, in the case of Pravin Gordhan, when they call him to a meeting to start an investigation or continue, they put it out to the media. So immediately you see there's an agenda behind it. They're trying to intimidate Pravin. They're trying to get him to stop not releasing money to SAA, not releasing money to the nuclear. And so they are really trying to intimidate him in a way. But I'm glad that he stuck to his guns, because my disappointment with the ANC and many people in the ANC, there are very few of them left with conscience, because they think with their stomachs. It's all about themselves getting in reach, themselves getting tenders. And here, I think for the first time, you see Pravin coming out and even being supported by Trevor Manuel to speak their mind. And I think that is very good for our democracy.
Clearly. But when you knew Pravin Gordhan at Cadessa, obviously he was in a different political party than you, but did you respect him? Did you feel he was a man of honor?
Of course. I mean, he chaired many of the sessions. And, I mean, I was one of the leaders of the delegations negotiations. And it had to be, he played a pivotal role because there were many times when we disagreed. And many could see that there was no way that we were ever going to get an agreement here. He invented this thing by saying, let's park that difficult issue and let's move on. And so when we came to the end of negotiations, there were a number of issues parked that we then had to deal with. And most of those sessions he chaired and helped us to get over our differences, because even Mandela walked in there one night and Mandela said to us, you know, on both sides, on the side of the apartheid regime and on the liberation movement side, and he said, you know what, we must put our country first. We must find some compromise in whatever way. And he used to talk hard to all of us, and Pravin was chairing those sessions. And then after Mandela's left, there was no more grandstanding, and we put our heads to it and found some solutions.
But he was always a man of both skill and integrity.
Yes, very smooth too, I must say. He's got a very psychological way of dealing with issues, obviously know what he wants the outcome to be. So I think he's a very good politician, very committed, you know, he loved this country.
Now we only have 60 seconds before the break, but do you have any sense of what the end game is going to be? Who's going to break? How's this going to end? It's a crisis we can't live with.
Well, I'm very, I'm very concerned because Jacob Zuma is a very vicious man. He's very vindictive. He's very calculated, and because of his intelligence background, you know, he will hit at a time when nobody expected. But by Pravin taking a public stand and by Pravin getting the public behind him, it's becoming more difficult for Zuma. But Zuma's the kind of character, when you push him into a corner, he becomes actually dangerous. And he is in the corner now, so we can expect anything. Yeah. Because he doesn't care about the country, it's all about himself.
Yeah, and it's a complicated chess game, and,
yes.
and President Zuma has a lot of the cards. We're going to have to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the cities. And we're back with the Mayor of Cape Town, Patricia de Lille. We're back to talking about the cities. You've been mayor for 5 years. Before your party was in control under Helen Zille. What is Cape Town doing now to help your colleagues in Johannesburg, Tshwane and Nelson Mandela, where your party is taking over in coalitions, to make the changes you want?
Well, I've really traveled the past 8 months to all of these metropolitans and really selling the Cape Town story, the track record of Cape Town, and saying to people in those metropolitans, you know, we're very eager to come and bring clean government to you, but it's only you that can bring about change by voting. The only way to get the ANC out is that they were voted in. You need to vote them out. And I think that message resonated with the voter. But we also started doing ready-to-govern sessions with all the mayoral candidates once they were screened and elected by the party. And I shared with them my journey and how finally I brought about change in the city.
So what do you do? You've got to have a strategy for corruption, to stop cadre deployment, to provide delivery. What are the rules? What are the mechanisms?
Sunlight is the best to expose.
Disinfectant, right. Sunlight is the best disinfectant.
Sunlight is the best disinfectant for corruption.
You've always worked with the press.
So what we've done, yes, is that we open up all tender procedures in the city of Cape Town. No politician is allowed in that room. You can go to the 5th floor of the city of Cape Town now, and anybody from the public can walk in there. When we do the bid evaluation...
politicians can't go in there?
no politician, including myself. Nobody's allowed.
And what happens if a politician would come in? Would they kick him out?
We'll kick him out. So when we do the bid evaluation, the bid adjudication, and we finally decide who's getting the tender, it's in the full view of the public. So there's nobody that can try and do something underneath the table because everybody is evaluated openly. And that's the first we're doing in Nelson Mandela Bay, Tshwane, and in Joburg. Very soon, all the tender procedures will be open, something that has never happened before.
Are they all closed now?
They're all closed now.
But Cape Town has always been open?
Cape Town has always been open. So that's one of the things that we're bringing in immediately to deal with the corruption. The second one is that Cape Town, comparatively speaking, is 10 times cleaner than Johannesburg, Tshwane, and Nelson Mandela Bay. So, you know, because people always compare Cape Town to the rest, we're going on a big campaign just to clean the areas, especially the previously disadvantaged areas. It's a mess. The other day I was driving from the airport and I got lost and I took the turn-off through Tembisa. And, you know, I couldn't believe what I was seeing, filth and dirt. So that the people can see that we want to bring back not only dignity to the people living in Joburg and in the other cities, but to make sure that we keep it clean. Then, of course, you know, unemployment is very high in all the cities.
What can the cities do about that?
The cities cannot create the jobs themselves. But what cities must do, what we've done in Cape Town, we create the conditions whereby the private sector can create jobs. So my job as the mayor is to make sure that there's electricity security. Secondly, that the water is running, that the economic roads is usable, that you don't have any potholes, that we clean, that we manage the issue of urbanization, because there's a big opportunity for cities to grow with urbanization. And then, of course, you know, dealing with red tape. I mean, I repealed 257 unwanted bylaws when I became the mayor, because I said we need to go from red tape to red carpet, and so it's make it easier for business to do business. But also, if we want businesses to come here, we need to offer a lifestyle, and the lifestyle for people wanting to come and open up their headquarters in Cape Town is there. We've got 4 of the best universities, we've got good hospitals and good schools. So you see there's been a big migration of businesses from Johannesburg to the city of Cape Town.
But there's going to be a very potentially big disruption, because a lot of these cities have people who've been there a long time. Some are cadre employees who are not competent, others are maybe competent, some are honest, some are dishonest.
Yes.
How disruptive is that going to be in the beginning? I assume it will be.
I spoke to Mayor Herman Mashaba last night in Johannesburg, and there were about 16 odd people in Mayor Parks Towell's office. And they came to him and they said that, look, we've all been deployed here, we are political, and they think that they want to go, which is fair, he said. But they said to him, can you pay us out until the end of December? And he said, look, I will go and look into your contracts. He found that all the contracts come to an end, the end of August. So he said, no, you have to go in any case. What is this of wanting a golden handshake before you leave? So certainly we have to do an audit of whether the skills needed for a particular job is there. And, you know, sometimes people are put up for failure if they are put in a job where they cannot do the job. There's not going to be a whole-scale reduction or retrenchment of people, but we work through the key departments like utilities, human settlements, the transport department, and try and clean up the 3 big ones, because you can't do everything at the same time, while also going out to the people of all of those metros to tell them what we have inherited. I mean, Tshwane is bankrupt. Tshwane is bankrupt. Nelson Mandela Bay has got, I think they're in the red to the tune of billions. We will soon know what is the status of Johannesburg, because we have to say to people the expectations is high for us to deliver, but in government, if you want to deliver, you need to get the resources.
But Johannesburg was a little better, wasn't it, under Parks Tower? They were starting to get unqualified audits?
unqualified with findings. I mean, that's really not good. I think the standard that we set, and Cape Town got clean audits for the last 3 years and unqualified for the past 10 years. So we have set the standard very high. And of course, we're helping them as far as we can to put up the systems in place, because if you have proper systems that can prevent and detect corruption, it's not easy to be corrupt. And those systems are non-existent in the other metros, and we're going to help them to put that in.
We're going to break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the apartheid legacy and how things will be different in Cape Town in 5 years. And we're back talking to Patricia de Lille, the recently re-elected Mayor of Cape Town. Madam Mayor, we have the apartheid legacy we've always understood. I remember thinking in the early 90s, the day after we have democracy, you'll still have Guguletho and Langa and Khayelitsha and Higgovale and Camps Bay and so on. That physical housing stock is still there. What is realistic in what can be achieved in breaking down the history of spatial apartheid?
Spatial apartheid needs to be tackled by all spheres of government, not just only local government. Now, local government is only 16 years old. Provincial and national is almost 22 years old. So there's been a failure by the state to deal with apartheid spatial planning. In fact, the state perpetuated the apartheid spatial planning by building the RDP houses as far out of the cities, even further than Khayelitsha and Mitchell's plan.
But what could they have done differently?
No, there are solutions. There are a number of open spaces in between, kept by the apartheid spatial planning, between
the old townships and the white areas.
So you need to look at those spaces. I can only speak for Cape Town. One of those big spaces left by apartheid spatial planning is that they put the army base right center into the city. So Wingfield's got about 600 hectares of land. Now we don't need the army close by the city to protect only one group of people. I've been trying for years now to say to national government, please release that land, because then we can bring people closer to the city. Now, in my discussions with them, the SANDF wants to get 800 million just to move, never mind the sale of the land. So in the city of Cape Town, we've got 2 major projects coming in the next 5 years. The one is, with the development of Maiden's Cove and connecting and open up that space for everyone to use that beautiful coastline, one of the conditions is that the development facilitation fees will be used to build affordable housing in the center of Cape Town. That is how you deal with apartheid spatial planning, because the poor spend more than 40% of their salaries on just transport. Then we're going to finish this unfinished bridges that's been there for more than 60 years. And the 6 hectares of land underneath that, the reason why I agreed to release the land was to say on condition that you're going to build affordable housing right there for poor people.
Okay, but that's 6 hectares. Yeah. Wingfield is 600 hectares.
Yes. And there's also Youngsfield, it's another base.
Now, if I recall correctly, Wingfield was donated at the request of Jan Smuts by Sir David Graaf.
Yes.
Even before World War II, or I can't remember the exact date. That's 600 hectares. That was based on notions of potential war against the Nazis and so on. That's all historically irrelevant.
Yeah.
What can you do about it? Can you take the national government to court?
Yes, most definitely. I wrote an open letter to Jacob Zuma in February 2014. We've engaged with the Sir de Villiers Graaf Trust. They also still own land there. They prepare to give up that land for development. There's also in the Ndabeni next to it, that's a land restitution claim. The people got their land back, but it's been sterile for years.
So what's holding it up?
Because we want to develop the whole area, so SANDF must give up Wingfield. And so, you know, this year, I'm really going to try and take national government to court. Because, you know, our courts are still very independent. They've shown that they will act against any fears of government, and let government tell the court why they refuse to sell the land or even donate the land so that we can have this integration.
And what response did you get from the president?
The first response took many months before they finally responded. I followed up again in 2015, around about April, and I was told that the president has sent it to all the other departments to hear first whether they would like to use the land. Now that's another year later, still no response.
So that's where it is.
That's why I will have to go to court.
Now there's several others, I think Columberg and District 6, we just seem to go year after year with little progress. Is that going to come down to the same thing, taking the government to court?
District 6 is a different, it's a classical example where national government, provincial and the city government are working together. The city government, in terms of the old repossession, is the current owner of the land. So we've released the land, but we also put in money from the city of Cape Town to put in the bulk services. And then province and national government will put in the money for the top structures. So that's why you see, we've seen some buildings going up there. But the one thing that's also delaying it is the community dimensions, you know, about who's entitled to claim and the beneficiaries. But that is moving. Last year, we put aside 80 million to help with putting in services there. But there was some hiccup and some delay, but we're working well together with national government.
We're pretty much out of time, but the last question was around where Cape Town will be in 5 years from now. How different will it be? How different will it be?
Already for my past 5 years, I've done what we call redress projects, because to redress the imbalances of the past, and it's visible change. You know, John, all the old townships didn't have pavements. They had those old concrete roads. We lifted up those old concrete roads, Ananga, Langa, Gugule to Bonti, all of those areas. And we built pavements. And we have at least done some urban upgrading just to look, that it looked better. You can see also now the city owns about 40,000 rental flats. We have renovated all of them. Pulled up people for 6 weeks and did the renovation. So you can see the visible change in terms of redress.
But the hardest is still Khayelitsha, Gugulethu.
No, it's not like that. You know, I just wish people would get out of their comfort of their homes and cars and go and drive, then go and see.
I've been in
Khayelitsha. The problem in Khayelitsha is it's growing very, very fast. It has grown 300% in the past 10 years. Because of urbanization, because people, if Cape Town was so bad,
from the Eastern Cape and so on, yes.
Why are people coming here? They're coming to look for opportunities. They're coming to look to find a job. The unemployment is the lowest in the city of Cape Town. So urbanization put a lot of pressure on infrastructure. So it must not be people must not think that we don't want to do things in Khayelitsha. No, not me. I fought in the struggle against apartheid. I fought that we could look after the poor in this. So nobody will insult me to think I do nothing in Khayelitsha. The people who think that we're doing nothing in Khayelitsha are this Johnny-come-latelys. They've joined the struggle on the 2nd of February when the clerk made his speech, and it was safe to be in the struggle. I'm not one of those. I fought in the struggle. So the conditions in Khayelitsha is because of overcrowding and the pressure that it's putting on the infrastructure. But also what the Johnny-come-latelys don't know is that the Constantius and the Bishop's Courts and around the coastline has not been built by government. It's been built by private money. Apartheid Spatial Planning just gave them the space. So they compare Bishop's Court with Khayelitsha. You can't compare private property with public property. So it's all the propaganda against Cape Town. I've said the other day, they say Cape Town is racist. When the ANC governed Cape Town, it wasn't racist. I'm sure they're going to say now Johannesburg is racist, Tshwane is racist, and Nelson Mandela Bay, because that's the only card that people have got left against the elected government.
Well, thank you, Madam Mayor. Clearly the voters agreed with you.
The voters are far more intelligent. I'm so happy.
Thank you. That was Patricia de Lille. We haven't had enough of her. We're going to talk to her again for our following program.